success turning people into libertarians by trolling them. If we can bring the message of liberty through what's popular, why wouldn't we be doing that? We are simply free. I want the whole thing abolished. If I have to take all the heat to open the floodgates, then I'll fucking do it.
Rent and property are not theft.
Fight the despots. Don't forget to break the cycle. Hello, and welcome to CouchStreams After Hours, where we give you all the cool content that you have to pay for. Then we leave all the virgin non-subscribers out of the exclusives. I'm here with Stephan Kinsella, who we just had an awesome live stream. Learned a lot about IP tonight. Stephan, people want to know about the scooter ride. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
People want to know about this scooter ride with Samaroff, man. What's this all about? What do people keep talking about?
I mean, the scooter ride was not the highlight of the whole thing, but so I'd done Samaroff's show a couple times last year, Scottish Liberty podcast, and he was going to be in Houston for a few weeks, vagabonding around the world. And so earlier this year, I think it was March, he said, "Hey, Kinsella, I'm in Houston." So I picked him up. We went to have coffee, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to go to the Mises Institute this coming weekend for a Mises thing. Do you want to come?" He goes, "Hell yeah." So he went with us. We had a blast. On the way back home, I said, I'm going to go to Telluride skiing next week. You don't happen to ski, do you? He goes, "Yeah, my dad told me to ski." So he went to Telluride with me. We had a blast. We ended up going, I don't know, several cities together, or meeting each other coincidentally, like twice, like in Portland and in some other city. And in some of those cities, they have these scooters everywhere, which that's a thing now. And I'd never tried them, but I started getting the e-bikes and the scooters, and so we just started riding scooters around. I think in Austin we did it, and in some other cities too. So we just had a blast, and I took some videos of it. So that was where the scooter story came from. But I will tell you that when I got home in March, I love the scooter. I bought one of the Bird Air scooters, and I had already hurt my shoulder from I went skiing twice, and I fell twice in February when I went with Juan Carpio, and then I fell two more times with Samaroff in Telluride, and my shoulder was hurting pretty bad. And when I got home, I had my scooter, and I flipped over on my driveway and landed on it. I really hurt my shoulder. Oof. So I've hurt my shoulder 5 freaking times this year. I was with a physical therapist this morning, and she was listening. She goes, "Do you have balance problems?" Like, she was wondering if have a problem. I said, "No, I just had 5 unlucky breaks this year." So my scooter adventures did lead me to almost break my shoulder somehow, but wow. That's the scooter story.
Okay, I see. So lots of pain there. I get that. I do have balance problems. I have vertigo issues. So you think I'd hurt myself a lot more, but once you've lived with vertigo for as long as I have, you get used to it. So you know to overcompensate. You know what I mean? You're like, right. Oh, it's a little rocket. I'm okay. I'm gonna make it. I don't really get super nauseous from it anymore, thankfully. But and it comes in waves. I'll have it for a couple weeks, and then I won't have it for a year, and then it comes back. It sucks. I think it's whatever they call that, inner ear disease or something. I haven't really been checked for too much, or it could be a brain tumor. Who knows?
But what we did with it was, what we did that was more fun was in Colorado. We decided to, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew we were going to get on the ski lifts, and we were going to be jabbering about bullshit and about libertarian stuff. So I decided to record it, and so I recorded it for about 3 days, all of our lifts, and we called it Lift Talks. And so we published those as a couple of podcasts, and we thought they were hilarious, and some people thought they were funny. They were just us fucking around a lot, but sure. Joking around and being crude, but that was fun.
Yeah, you ski a lot. You're
No, I don't. It's the first time I skied in like 7 years. That's why I hurt myself. While I had the chance, I was going like a bat out of hell, and they say that after the third day skiing, like, your confidence gets better, but your skill doesn't. So that's when you start hurting yourself.
It's a lot easier to roll out of a snowboard than it is on skis, right?
That's what I've heard. I've never tried snowboarding.
Yeah, I'm a snowboarder, man. I've never been on a pair of skis. I've been on water skis, but I've never been on snow skis. I snowboard. So
yeah, I'm from the South. So when I lived in Philly for a while, I would, or when I had Yankee friends, you have to say, I would always say snow ski. I would say snow ski to distinguish, right? Because when you say ski down south, we mean water ski. So when you say snow ski, they kind of say, "Why do you say snow every time?" I'm like, because there's 2 types of skiing.
Yeah, some people aren't aware of that. I'm from California, but I grew up about 3 hours away from Tahoe, man. So I even spent a season up there working at that Sierra, and it was a good time, man. I enjoy it, and it's Tahoe's a nice snow. It's not like a freezing ass cold snow like here in the Midwest. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's it'll snow, it'll dump like big powder all night long. You'll wake up the next day, it'll be like 60 degrees, 65 degrees, 70 degrees, and you're snowboarding in a t-shirt. You're like, this is great, Let's talk about you infuriating the left and some of these what we like to call the loser brigade libertarians by taking a picture with Hans Hermann Hoppe. You had a nice little helicopter. Did Hans know what was going on there? Did he understand the implications?
I think he was. Well, what happened was this was 2018. I think the Mises Institute had their 35th anniversary celebration in New York City, so I went to that. My wife finally came with me, met my friends. They finally believed I had a wife after all those years. Because she never goes to these things. She's a normie. And so anyway, so we went to New York. And so Michael Malice was at the one of the receptions. And he walked up to Hans and he gave him this toy helicopter he had bought for like a G.I. Joe set.
Holy shit, Malice did it?
Malice gave it to him, and Hans thought it was funny. So later that night, Hans and I were at the Baccarat Hotel. I remember that's where we were staying, and we had a crowd of people were staying. And Hans was telling me about the Malice helicopter thing, and he was laughing about it. And I said, "Let me see it." So he pulled it out, and so I said, "Let's take a selfie." So we took a picture, and I posted it. And then all the loser brigade goes ape shit, And this one thing about my libertarian career is I've always been independent. Like I said, I'm my own benefactor, and I mean that. So like I never worked for a think tank. Like I got offered a job with Cato in 1999, and I said, "No freaking way! I'm going to be a lawyer. I can make money as a lawyer. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to be beholden to someone else for my opinions."
Especially not Cato.
Well, this is 98. I kind of admired them then.
Sure.
I thought they were libertarian, but I didn't want to do that. But anyway, so my point is, at this point, it'd be hard to cancel me because I don't need any of these people. And my view about all these people that are virtue signalers and they start calling you a fascist, I just think you should just look at them and say you're an asshole.
Sure. Just
call them an asshole and walk away. They don't deserve anything more than that. Don't give them your respect. You don't have to defend yourself. Like, they say, you need to sign a letter denouncing bigotry. I'm like, you're an asshole. Fuck off.
Yeah, I know. It's always funny to me when they go at me for that. First of all, I'm part Jewish, right? My dad's side of the family's part Israeli. So calling me a Nazi is always funny. Calling me and Dave Smith both a Nazi is always funny to me because Dave's also a huge Jew. He's actually religiously Jewish. I'm not. I'm just hereditary. But then even funnier is I grew up right outside of Oakland, California. Right. If I was ever in my life a Nazi or a bigot, I would be dead. I would be dead by now. There's no doubt about it. The neighborhoods I grew up in, I would be dead by now. And there's no way you can tell me I wouldn't. I know guys who were Nazis or white supremacists that are dead now.
I mean, most racists and Nazis and commies, that they're racist and Nazis and commies because they say it. I mean, you can tell because that's what they espouse.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is like these people are usually proud of that shit. Like, it's
not hard to find. So I just think it's ridiculous. And I look at it. I really do look at it like if someone acts like that. If I'm going to be excluded from polite society, which means their crowds, fine. It's their law. I view it as their law. It's not mine.
I think we need to throw up the quotes when we say polite society with those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another case of the tolerant left striking again, right?
Yeah.
So these exclusive chats are a little short, but I want to get into the Mises Caucus a little bit. Are you down to talk about that a little?
Absolutely.
All right. So you've joined the Mises Caucus, correct?
I think I'm a member. I'm on their Facebook page. I don't know if there's an official sign up or something. I donate money.
That's really
I'm a supporter. I hung out at the tent. I think I joined the party. I'd never been a member of the party because I wasn't a believer in active political electoral politics really. But when Woods and all those guys joined it about 3 years ago, whenever that was, I said, "Oh, fine, I'll join." I think that was the Mises Caucus sort of rallying people to do it, and I always just assumed that the Mises Caucus was um, like a gathering place for my kind of libertarian, which is the ones who have an affinity for the ideas of the Mises Institute type people, like Rothbardian, hardcore Austrian economics, radical, mostly anarchist, that kind of stuff. So I assumed that's what it was for and about, like just an attempt to listen, say, we need to kind of steer the party back towards espousing real principled libertarianism, which seems to me to make sense. So if that's to the extent that's what it is, I'm a big supporter of it.
Yeah, it's absolutely what it was. It was, so I'm sure you're fairly familiar with the Cato Mises split. Rothbard.
Oh yeah.
Rothbard was obviously one of the original founders of the Libertarian Party. Cato and the Koch brothers kind of took it over and put it in their image. I think the last really truly radical candidate the Libertarian Party had for president was Badnarik in like 2004, and even then it was because a bunch of radicals showed up to the convention. It wouldn't have been a radical had and prior to that it was there was after that they kind of really shifted when they went to the Bob Barr years and kind of switched, kind of washed over Mary Ruart and stuff like that, and it just became this essentially like a beltway Cato political arm. I mean, that's really what it became. And all at that point, especially after like 2001, after 9/11, it was just like all the Mises libertarians, all those people just left the party completely. And so Michael Heiss really just came out of the woodwork. And I had announced that I was running for chair because I wanted to see anybody go up against Nick Sarwark, is what it was for me. And I called a bunch of the big name libertarians and I was like, come on, you got to run against this guy. He's an asshole. He's talking shit about Tom Woods. He's a nice guy, and no one wanted to do it. Everyone told me, you're insane. He's the most popular chair the party's had. He's running for his third term. He's a trial lawyer. He was a fucking public pretender, but he was a trial lawyer and used car salesman. He owns a big car dealership and all this shit. And nobody would do it. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll do it, man. I had this publication called Think Liberty. I have since gone to like Toastmasters and done some debate preps and a couple of speech classes but back then I'm just this like West Coast maintenance man who still says dude and bro and hella and like skateboards on the weekends. I'm in my 30s, but and so it was a rough road. But I took the Mises Caucus on my back, right? So I went to Michael Heiss. And I was like, I'm a Mises libertarian. That's what I am. And I'm running to be chair against Nicholas Sarwark. You have this group here with like 50. There was only like 50 people in the Facebook group. We didn't have any organization yet, any of that stuff. Now they own 26 state boards as of yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they've taken this party over. Nick Sarwark got noted for state treasurer in New Hampshire, for crying out loud. Literally lost to no one. So...
Yeah, I think it's great. I actually was in Nevada the day that they won there, and met some of the people there. And
you were there?
Yeah, I was there actually, because Samaroff was there, and
right.
And he went to speak at it, and I thought it was just gonna be a boring convention thing. So I was like at my hotel room. I met up with them at the bar later for their celebration thing. But I would have actually gone if I had known they needed outsiders to come and give support for what they'd done, but apparently they didn't need it. And actually the next day, the guy that's now Brian Elliott, who's one of the guys that won, I think he's the secretary or the treasurer.
Yeah, secretary, I think.
Yeah, he took Anthony and I to the Hoover Dam the next day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about this last night on the show. Was it last night? Yeah, with Stephen Nicola. I was actually on the very first call with the 3 Mises Caucus members that they had in Nevada in 2018. 3.
Right. Right.
And they were asking me, what should I do? And I had already traveled to 40 or 25 states at this point. I had been trying to build a caucus all over the place with Heiss and Douglas and all these guys. And I was like, look, you just got to recruit people and show up to their convention and take it away from these people. Oh, look at that. That's nice. And he was like, oh, well, I just don't know how to do it. And you got to understand, this is the state affiliate that was attacking Ron Paul. They spent a week attacking Ron Paul from their Facebook page. And it's like Ron Paul did better in Nevada than almost anywhere, except for like Iowa, where I live now. And so you're going to try to be a successful libertarian state affiliate by attacking the most libertarian guy that's ever won. You know what I mean? And so it was just beautiful to see them take that whole entire state away from those losers, man.
Yeah. And, I mean, from what I know, I mean, I'm hopeful. I think McCardle is. I hope she wins, and I hope Dave Smith gets the nomination. And I just simply believe. Look, I think our chance of winning are zero. Sure. But I think that we need to get the message out, and to do that, we need to get the libertarian message out. So I was disgusted when they had people like Weld and Bob Barr and those other guys. I mean, Gary Johnson was barely a libertarian. I actually voted for him, but I kind of regret it now.
He was all right. He got way too stoned in 2016. Way too stoned.
Yeah, I don't care about that too much, but he just is not. I'd say he's barely libertarian, but you need to be at least a libertarian, sure. I think, to run. To be able to take it.
Oh, I talk about this a lot too. You know, Tom Woods has had me on like 3 times on his show now, which I still to this day I'm like, how did I get on Tom Woods' show 3 times, right? But the first time he had me on, it was something that stuck with me. He's like, look, if we're gonna have a party that has the name libertarian in it, it needs to be an explicit libertarian, like running the party, you know?
Correct.
Correct. Because most normies in this country, when they think of the word libertarian, they don't think of the Great Mises Institute. They don't think about, even Cato or Fee or any of this stuff. They think about the Libertarian Party, And if we're a joke and we're not spouting our principles, then we're doing a great disservice to not just the people of this country, but our own ideology, our own principles, our own goals for a more free society. And I think, I think Angela will be great. I worked very closely. I'm a California libertarian. I'm born and raised California, and I worked on the board with Angela. She is as principled and strong of a leader as they come. I think it's going to be really good. I hope she does win. I had announced that I'm running for my at-large seat again, but now it may change. I may run for the region rep spot here, Region 6, or I may run for vice chair. I don't know. But either way, there's going to be some unhappy people if I do one of those 2 things.
Yeah, and I'm actually friends with Karen Ann Harlow. So I actually had dinner with her in Colorado when I went to one of my Telluride trips, and she's great. And I followed all that stuff with you and her, and the attempt to the New Hampshire coup bullshit, and then the attempts to oust her, which was ridiculous. So. I don't want to be, I don't call it partisan or whatever, but I just, the reason I joined was because I figure I've been called, people all have assumed I'm a libertarian, a big L libertarian for 30 years. And I never was. So I figure if they're going to assume that, I might as well join and then try to make sure that they're actually libertarian.
Shift the Overton window in the party is what I like to say. And it's shifting, man, every day. It's getting closer and closer and closer to being what I think it should be. I think something that Murray could be proud of. That's what I think when I'm like, I want a libertarian party that's going to make Murray Rothbard proud again. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I want to take it. Because he called it the political wing of the liberty movement, and it should be the political wing of the liberty movement. We shouldn't have to tell people, well, if you really want to do anything libertarian, you should join the Republicans. We need to have a party that offers people who are fed up with the bullshit, a third option, or a lesser of lesser evils, I guess, if we want to call it that. I didn't believe in electoral politics for a long time either. Especially war is what created me. I mean, I went to war, and when I got back, I was like, "There's no fucking way I can be a member of this Republican Party anymore, who is staunchly pro foreign aid, especially to Israel, pro war. They're all becoming neocons that turned into this like Mitt Romney, John McCain like version of the Republican Party. And I was like, this isn't me, man. And then I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008, and after what they did to him, I was like, I don't know how any liberty advocate can work with the GOP anymore. I just don't get it.
We'll tell you mentioned Cato. I'll tell you a kind of funny story about them. Because I've been closely affiliated with Mises for decades now, and so I know the Cato Mises split. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I got some guy emailed me from Cato, and he said, "Hey, we're going to do this panel debating IP, two anti-IP guys versus 2 pro-IP guys," and they invited me to be on it. And I thought to myself, that's weird. I'm like, really? But I said, okay, fine. And the guy says, but we don't have a budget for like, we can't pay you. We can't even pay you for you to get here. I said, that's all right. I'll buy my own ticket. So I was going to kind of call their bluff. So I bought my ticket and everything. And then sure enough, the guy emailed me weeks later and he says, listen, we've had to change the thing and you're no longer on it. So basically, I think what happened was someone, the left hand wasn't talking to the right hand. Someone at Cato found out and they said, what the hell are you doing? This guy can't be here.
Of course.
Because I've called them taco and stuff before in the past,
They're chicken shits, man. They are. They really are.
But anyway, so the guy that invited me, he took my place. He was a nice guy. He felt bad about it. But anyway, so I was disinvited. But because I had bought my ticket, he offered to reimburse me. Okay. So they wouldn't pay for me to go, but since I bought a ticket, they gave me money to pay me back for the ticket. So basically, Cato paid me not to go there.
Jesus. That makes a lot of sense.
So I was canceled from Cato before cancel culture happened.
Yeah,
they paid me not to come.
It's pretty silly when people like Matt Welch will sit down with people from the Mises Institute before the people from Cato will. I wonder why. It's almost like they don't want their ideas challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There are a couple good people at Cato. There are. I mean, I'm not saying everybody at Cato sucks, but most of the people at Cato suck.
Yeah, I don't follow them that much anymore. I did meet Nick Gillespie. He's with Reason. I met him at the Miami Bitcoin thing in a couple months ago, and we had a nice talk. He was great. He invited me to come, contact him for his crew if I go to New York. So he seemed to know who I was and not be hostile to it, but maybe that's the IP stuff.
Yeah, the guys at Reason. It's funny because the guys at Reason can be reasonable sometimes, but Matt Welch is just, he goes back and forth so bad. And there's been times with Gillespie too. I don't know if you ever, Gillespie had a debate with Walter Block. Have you ever seen that?
I think I did. Yeah.
They really don't like anarcho-capitalists very much. So.
Well, when I saw Nick, I said, hey man, I just actually criticized you on Facebook about a week because he was on, I think, Bill Maher or somewhere, and he had said something like he's talking about big government agencies and he's criticizing them. He said, not that we're against all big government agencies.
Yeah,
like he was talking about the Center for Disease Control, and no, I gave him a little bit of a break because it was on the fly, right? He was maybe he didn't have time to nuance it or whatever. Like maybe he meant to say we're not anarchists. Maybe all he meant to say was we're not anarchists. But he said it in the ham-fisted way. Anyway, I criticized him on Facebook, and I told him that. And he says, don't worry about it. So because he was cool about it, I kind of gave him a break.
Yeah, Nick's all right. Matt can be a little more sneaky, And in fact, that right after the 2018 convention, Matt Welch put out a really long-form article. I'd almost call it an essay. And it was called, Mises Caucus Rebuffed from the Libertarian Party. And we posted in the group, once every couple of weeks to remind ourselves of why we're here. Because, I mean, they likened us to the Charlottesville marchers and said that, we're the wing of the party that's upset that they condemned the Charlottesville protests and this and that. And it was like, no, we're not. We're literally not. That's not who we are at all. I mean, we're anarcho-capitalists, not Nazis and fascists. So it's kind of shitty for you to say that. And of course, they always quote Nick Sarwark in a good light, and people like me in a bad light, even if it's like a normal interview that had, like, they're quoting us about this New Hampshire thing, and they made it sound like I was essentially the blood and soil candidate again. And I'm like, I gave you like a good quote, like it's good, we won, that's it, like that's. It was a good thing that we didn't let all the digital assets and stuff of the party get stolen. And that's another thing. There was a guy from New Hampshire who kept coming on going, aren't you guys against IP? And I'm like, I think the keys to all the social media accounts and the websites and the bank accounts, that's not really an IP issue.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
It was the most ridiculous argument I ever heard. I'm like, is this guy really trying to say that this is an IP issue? I mean, it's not even on the same page.
Yeah, I saw some of that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, man. But anyways, hey, I really appreciate you coming on, Stephan. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. And thank you for becoming a member of my Patreon tonight, man.
You're welcome. Glad to do it. I'm looking for good people to support.
Yeah, I'll tell the fiance she's gonna be stoked too. She's not as much of a normie as some people's wives. Mine helped found something called Informed Choice Iowa. She's real big on medical freedom, so she's kind of in the sphere. But she tells me all the time, "Why don't you just leave that party crap? It's too much, you know."
Yeah.
But I appreciate you, man. If you want to say one more time where people can find you at, the websites they can check you out at. So
StephanKinsella.com and NS Kinsella on Twitter and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.